What's up everybody? In this video we're going to be looking at one of my most recent medium format cameras. That's the Mamiya 6 folding camera. So the Mamiya 6 was one of the first medium format cameras that Mamiya made. It's a folding rangefinder 6x6 camera, and there are a few different variations that you could find. So the variation that I have is with the Mamiya Kominar lens. It's a 75mm f3.5 and I believe this is one of the cheaper versions of the camera that they made. It's missing a few of the better features that they had, and the lens doesn't seem like it's the best or has the best in terms of shutter speeds and other things, but it's still a pretty nice little camera. So with this being the cheaper version of this camera, there's a few things missing. You don't actually have a sort of stop with your frame counter or winder. You have to do it all with your eye and use this little window on the back door. It also is a little bit awkward to load and just is missing a few little other features that it has. As you would have seen, there was a plate that I put on and off when loading the film. And this is incredibly important with this camera. If your camera does not have one of these, do not buy it or do not use it, because that is how the camera focuses. Rather than having the lens move like most other rangefinder cameras, the film plane moves, which is quite a nifty way that they designed this camera to make it sort of easier to make a cheap folding camera. So one of the things that makes this a cheaper version of this camera is it does not have a auto cocking shutter. You have to cock it yourself, and you have to also turn this, so kind of leaves it open for you to accidentally shoot double exposures and stuff like that. The more modern, better versions of these, the Automats and the Automat 2, they have auto cocking, so when you wind, it cocks the shutter and it automatically winds to the right spot on the frame. So if you're looking for one of these, I would suggest you go for the Automat or the Automat 2, just because they are that little bit better. Also, I'm not sure how good this lens is. The Kominar lens seems like it's not as good of a lens as some of the other ones, and they just have more features and seem to be a little bit better. Look at that crab. Look at the big boy crab, Reese. So this Kominar version of the camera that I have, I'm not 100% sure how good the lens is. I don't think it'll handle flares or direct sunlight that well, but I think when stopped down it should have a pretty good resolution and shouldn't be too bad. But I've not actually seen any results from it. I did one quick black and white test roll, which I sort of developed really quickly and barely scanned it in, but just to check that there was no light leaks or issues, and it all seemed pretty good. The better versions of this are Olympus lenses, and they just seem to perform very well, very sharp, and just all-round better lenses that are pretty good. But this one has a few limitations, like the shutter speeds go up to a whopping 1/300th of a second, so you're kind of limited with high-speed films to very low apertures. But that's a good little limitation sometimes. Having a limit like that might help you make better shots. So one of the downsides to these folding cameras, it's not just the Mamiya, it's a lot of the other ones, is they have kind of hard to use viewfinders. The actual rangefinder patch is kind of bright, but there's no lines. It's kind of difficult to sort of get your composition right, and if you're trying to be precise, they're not the best for that. But one of the pros of these cameras is how small and light they are. These are actually, if you had big pockets, pocketable cameras, and they give you a 6x6 negative, which is fairly impressive. So if you're looking for something small, this could be the way to go. Great little travel camera. And they are also very cheap. These were generally made from the 40s, 50s and 60s, so they're getting on a little bit in age. And generally they're not that desirable by most film shooters, so they are a little bit on the cheaper side if you're looking for a good entry-level camera. But just make sure you have all the parts that you need. They've been film tested, because they do suffer from light leaks in the bellows and many other problems that come with just the age of a very old camera like this. Tasty treat. Yum. Delicious. So loading these cameras, you want to take the plate out, and as I was saying before, you 100% need the plate, because as you can see, when I get this in, this is how the camera focuses. It moves the film plane, so you need this plate to hold the film tight. But the best way to sort of load them that I've found from what other people have been posting is you take this, you have to pull it underneath these two little tabs here, pull it across, put it in. It's a bit of a pain in the butt because the film always bends the wrong way. Damn you, film, get in there. There you go, pull it across. Get it tight on the take-up spool. Then you put the plate in with the arrow facing the right direction, same as that arrow. Slide it across. And then you can sort of stop wherever, because you are seeing this. There is no specific spot where you need to stop it, because you're looking through here. And you just close it up, lock the back, hold here, and then you're going across. I like Ilford films a little bit more. They have sort of more information on the backs when I've been doing this. Kodak, as you might be able to see, is just like nothing, and then all of a sudden it's just a 1. It says Kodak, and then 1, and that's the frame. Whereas a lot of other films will have more information, which make it a little bit easier for you to see. But that's it, loaded, Portrait 400, good to go. is it, last photo. So I hope they turned out well. I honestly have no idea. I haven't actually seen any good results or good scans from this camera. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'll come back to you from the future in the studio to run through the photos, the results, and talk a little bit more about this camera if we need to. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you there. So this Mamiya 6 is a bit of an interesting camera for me. I originally tried to purchase one back in early 2020, and I bought it off eBay, and it was getting shipped to me, and then the Japanese post wouldn't ship, and then shipping was incredibly expensive with FedEx, and so ended up cancelling the order and not getting one. So when I saw this one, I kind of jumped the gun and just bought it straight away, and I didn't really look into it. And because of that, I think I got a bit of a mediocre one. It's all tested, working well, everything about it's great, but this Kominar lens and the setup without the auto winding, auto cocking, stopping and everything, it kind of isn't for me, I think. I've been looking up this version and trying to see information about it and sample photos. And there's just hardly any information about this specific one out there. Everyone seems to have the Automat or the Automat 2 with the Olympus lenses, but information about this one is incredibly lacking. It's one of the reasons why I made this video without barely testing the camera and using it a lot. I had no information about it. I just kind of wanted to get some information out there, and I didn't want to shoot, 10, 20 rolls, not particularly loving the results, and then just have a whole bunch of, sort of almost wasted film in there. So it's not too bad when you stop it down to f11, f16. It's kind of sharp. It does the job. If you're on, say, like a road trip or using multiple cameras, I think it would get annoying having to, remember to cock and then having to wind the film on and space it and everything appropriately. I feel like you would definitely miss a few shots, which is why I definitely think that the Automat is a lot better. And then the lens, as you get sort of more wide open, seems to be sort of incredibly soft. This doesn't really perform that well, I don't think. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've just missed focus a little bit, or if it's just that it's just slightly blurry or not that sharp. But a lot of the shots where I opened it right up to f3.5 are kind of what I would say unusable. f5.6 seems about where you'd want it, which isn't the best, because then it's quite a sort of, limited camera. If you're using it at 5.6 and then you only really have, 300, 100, and then 1/50th of a second for your shutter speeds, it's not really giving you many options. Also, when you put this onto a tripod, it's incredibly annoying. It has this little plate here because they're designed to be used with the cases. And this little plate here is incredibly unbalanced because you are just putting your tripod socket thing right into here, and then it just kind of wobbles and it's not very sturdy. I would say not good at all if you're in any sort of wind or anything like that. It will just sort of get a bit of wobbles on it. And it also doesn't have any strap lugs. All the strap stuff is on the leather case, which I have with it. But I kind of hate those cases. They're sort of big, bulky, there's flaps and things hanging out. I don't like them at all. So it's a little bit annoying. You could again probably put a strap lug thing in the base here and then just have it sort of like a little loop strap or something. But for me, that's kind of annoying. I don't love those styles. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this camera. I might keep it for a while, try some more images, just using it pretty much at f11, f16, middle of the day. I don't mind the shots that I got, at f16, f11 in terms of sharpness and how they look. I think the photos I got on this day were quite lackluster. It was sort of a very quickly, sort of unthought out photo walk, and I didn't have the tripod for the whole thing, which I kind of needed. The first shots on Ektar, I think, were just underexposed a bit. They just didn't have the light, and that's why they have that sort of deep sort of reddy purple in the shadows and in the darker areas, and I think they just look a bit meh. The Portra 400 ones I don't mind. I just have that bit of extra light, and then towards the end when it's on the tripod, I actually don't mind those. They're pretty nice. But yeah, it's hard to figure out with this Kominar version. I think if this was an Automat, I would actually really like it. I like the form factor. I like that it folds up. It's really small. I don't mind the mediocre viewfinder. It's not, you know, the best. The rangefinder patch is relatively bright, so you can see roughly, but you can't really align or actually see what your composition is going to be. But yeah, so I've taken some extra photos with this a few days after that initial shoot. I didn't really feel that good about the photos I was taking, so I went to a beach down the road, took a few more photos just to double test it and make sure it's all, you know, all good, and then I was getting decent exposures. So I'll put those up now. Enjoyed those extra photos. Yeah, I'm not sure what to think about this camera. Let me know in the comments down below if you've used this Kominar version, if you have experience with it, if you just have information. When looking it up, I couldn't find any information on this specific lens model or this actual model. Just a lot of information about the automats and a couple of others, but it's a bit lacking, so I found it hard to sort of find information or sample photos. So anyway, if you liked the video or you found it helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps the channel out, helps to boost the videos, and I'll see you on the next one.